I'm going to take a second to look at Archmage Emeritus here. Can't get out of plat? I'm sorry, dude. That's rough. I've been there. Because I'm also still in plat currently, but I've also not played a ton of ladder due to the tournament gameplay over the last few days. This card makes me sad. And I'll explain to you exactly why. It has 2 toughness. This card could not see competitive play in a world where Bone Crusher Giant is illegal. Which is a shame, because it's a really good little Storm payoff. Or like just instant and sorcery payoff to like chain through your entire deck. If you're casting instants and sorceries, you're going to draw more instants and sorceries, which will then draw you more and more instants and sorceries. It's even got good creature types. It's got human, wizard. Yeah, it's like the blue Beast Whisperer. The problem is, it has 2 toughness. It dies to a stiff breeze. It's a real shame. It's a cool card, but I would be very surprised if it saw any play, even after Bone Crusher rotated, to be very honest. Some more limited filler down here, unfortunately. Nothing standing out to me as being particularly powerful in Standard. I want to acknowledge that Divide by Zero exists as a card. It's not good. Don't try and play it, but that's a fantastic name. Good job, Watsy. Dream Strix. Unfortunately, I think I agree with Joe on this one, but we'll take a look at it together like we do most of the rares in the set. 3/2 flyer. When it becomes the target of a spell, it dies. When it dies, learn. If learn, we've said this 6,000 times at this point, but if learn is going to be good, it's because it finds you the answer to whatever the problem is currently. Do you know how you don't do that? If it's a dies trigger. If you only get to learn when the card dies, it doesn't find you the answer to the problem like you're looking for it to. Which means that it sucks. Like, it's hard to say that a 3-mana 3/2 flyer can be that bad, because it's a good rate. That's a really solid body. But this doesn't do what you want it to do. The delayed learn trigger doesn't really help. Like, learn is worse than drawing a card on random most of the time, because it's such a targeted ability to find you a situational answer. This thing will be nuts in Limited. This will be absolutely bananas in Limited, I have no doubt. Even as a rare, but it just doesn't do what you want it to do, unfortunately. The artwork is very sweet, though. Alrighty. Ingenious Mastery. I've never seen this card before in my life, so we're about to find out what this does. X, 2 and a blue. You can pay 3 instead if you like. If you pay 3, you draw 3. Then your opponent makes 2 treasures and scries 2. If you don't pay 3, you draw X. This card's confusing as shit. So what? This is a 3-mana draw 3. Assuming... Okay, this is never a 3-mana draw 3, right? You just can't cast this for 3 mana. Basically ever, unless you're in a serious emergency. The downside is just way too high. And there are better draw spells at other prices, I guess. There are way better ways to draw X cards than this. Yeah, like 4-mana draw 1 is not... That's not a good card. 5-mana draw 2 is not a good card. It's worse than Graven Lore. Yeah, this one sucks. Not a fan of Ingenious Mastery. I'd be surprised if that was good in any meaningful way. We got some more limited fodder tucked away down here, unfortunately. Mentor's Guidance. We'll take a look at Mercurial Transformation real quick, because this one is a blue lesson. There's a reason to be playing blue in your lesson-based deck. 2 mana makes target non-land permanent lose all its abilities and become a choice of either a blue frog or a blue octopus with. So this is actually kind of cool. If you're not white, you might need to use this as an answer to the non-land permanent problem. Why can't they be instant speed? Some of them would be really good if they were. Like it's probably a balance thing. But if you're not white for your lessons, this answers your removal problem. This also kind of answers your threat problem sometimes. Because if you have like a random token knocking around or something, you can just, learn and turn that token into a threat. Or turn a saga into a threat. Or like, an artifact into a threat. Maybe like a treasure token or something and becomes a 4/4. This is definitely one I could see you wanting in the board for the learn decks that are blue for some amount of the time. Like it does a reasonable job of both of those kind of pocket issues that we've talked about. I could definitely see this one seeing some play in a few little shells. This, however, is one of my favourite cards printed in this set. I think this is such a cool design. We have multiple choice. 1 blue mana sorcery with X as an additional cost. If X is 1, you scry 1, draw 1. So 2 mana, scry 1, draw 1. It can be 3 mana, bounce a creature to its owner's hand. It can be 4 mana, make a 4/4. Or it can be 5 mana, do all of those things. Now, all of these cards are, like all of these abilities are overcosted. You don't want to pay 2 mana for a card, you don't want to pay 3 mana to bounce, so on and so forth. But the flexibility is worth something, and the ability to do all of them is definitely worth something. I think this is a really powerful sorcery. I think it plays very well with the cost reduction effects that you'll see in the format, because it lets you do all of the things for cheaper than it would do otherwise. And you're giving yourself the ability to do a number of things. This is another one of those cards that it's just very flexible. You're paying for flexibility, which makes it pretty great. Like, this card being a sorcery isn't bad. You wouldn't want this card to be an instant. Like, if this card's an instant, it's bananas. And we don't need everything to be bananas. This is like a perfectly serviceable sorcery. It could be a decent card in tempo. It's just very flexible. I like it. I think it's a very cool design. It does a bit of everything. Yeah, I like it. I like multiple choice a fair amount. Pop quiz. Now, this is interesting. We're not going to talk about this too much. I'll just leave it kind of this side for the second. His problem is with sorceries. Exactly. This is 3 mana instant speed. Joe, it's an instant. Joe. Draw a card, then learn. And this suffers from the same kind of problem as the bird, in that it's slightly reactive. But outside of that, it being instant speed helps remedy that. Because your opponent can resolve an answer and you can pop quiz and find the thing you want to. So this is 3 mana instant speed divination that's normally going to be slightly better than divination. Because most of the time it finds you the niche effect that you're looking for right now. So it really kind of wouldn't surprise me too much if Pop Quiz was a playable draw spell in control shells, if they have sideboard space for learn spells. Joe, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong, dude. Eldraine is obviously a stupidly powerful set and will continue to define the benchmarks of Standard for while it's legal, but the fact of the matter is, Standard is not Eldraine. Looking at yesterday's results, the last few weeks' results, this format is constantly evolving, and Cold Time has had a massive impact on what is and isn't playable alongside cards from Eldraine. So, yes, it's definitely the most powerful set in Standard. It will continue to be the most powerful set in Standard, but the format is adapting to it and evolving with it in a healthy manner. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Some more limited filler here, unfortunately. Snow Day is a really sweet name, but nothing insane, unfortunately. Limited filler all the way through into another rare lesson. Let's take a look at Teachings of the Archaics. I don't know, I keep getting this name wrong. Hello? Has my browser given up? It may have given up. There we go. Alright, teachings. 3 mana sorcery speed lesson. If the opponent has more cards in hand than you, draw 2. Draw 3 if they have at least 4 more cards than you. Now, I like this a lot. And again, this is not because this card is good. We're not looking for good lessons. You shouldn't be expecting them to be on base rate stupid good. What we care about is this fills another one of those niche holes we've been talking about this entire time, and that it's card advantage. If you're 4 cards behind, you are usually pretty fucked, yes. But drawing 3 will hopefully help you catch up, and it's going to give you a better chance of winning than most other things you can do if you're 4 cards behind. But this fills the niche. That's what I'm talking about. Like, 3 mana draw 2 is not a good card. Right? I am willing to agree with that, not even close. But it does mean that your learn cards can provide you with more card advantage. This is the only lesson we've seen so far that actually provides raw card advantage. Nothing else seems to do so. Yeah, maybe it's like some kind of combo turn, like you're emptying your hand out. Maybe this is like better as card advantage in an aggressively based shell. But you're only going to be looking for this if you are in need of more cards, and having a lesson that lets you do that is pretty good. We want card advantage as an option on our lessons. So again, this card's playability will be defined pretty much solely by if learn is a good mechanic. If learn is not playable, this card will not see any play at all. If it is, then I reckon the blue decks will play one of these so that they can play their learn cards and draw more cards. That's really simple as it is, I think. Yeah, you might be right there, Hugh, honestly. Chaining a couple of spells together there is pretty cool. Yeah, me too, actually, Joe. I'm going to be doing a lot of jamming. Tempted by the Auric is a card that I'm very on the fence about. Let's take a look at this one together. 3 blue mana pips is not free. That is a hard cost to fulfill. However, 4 mana for each opponent. Gain control of up to 1 target creature or planeswalker they control with a CMC of 3 or less. Now, mind control effects are good. We've seen the Acroan War is playable. This is definitely geared towards EDH. Joe, you're not wrong. Any card that is worded for each opponent is definitely going to be geared towards EDH. But the truth is, we have seen the Acroan War see play. This is blue, and it steals not quite everything the Acroan War does, but most of the regular targets in current standard is Lovestruck Beast, Bone Crusher Giant, and also Lovestruck Beast. So maybe this gives mono blue a way to deal with a Lovestruck Beast. Old Growth Troll. You know, like, yeah, I think this card is not going to see universal play, but it's a really solid sideboard option for like mono blue shells that can't beat big, chunky green idiot without an effect like this. So glad that it exists. It's a nice card to have been printed in the format, I think. Okie dokie. Test of Talents. This card got a lot of... Imagine if we had fires? No. No. Can you not? This card got a lot of conversation, actually, when it was spoiled, and I actually think a lot of that was kind of unwarranted, but it is a unique effect that the fact it exists is more powerful than the card itself. It's definitely going to find some play, because it's very good at what it does. 2 mana instant speed, counter target instant or sorcery, search the graveyard, hand, library, everywhere, all the places, for cards of the same name, exile them. That player shuffles and draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. Stay hydrated, that I can do. I should probably start taking a drink, honestly. If only, Joe, if only. But, I mean, this is just a solid answer to Ultimatum, right? I know people have been saying this kind of stuff all the time. It counters the Ultimatum and yeets them the fuck out of the deck, which is definitely not nothing. What other targets do you really want to, you know, F this over, though? My problem is, for me, I think Ultimatum is really kind of the only instant or sorcery that I really want to exile the extra copies. I don't think there are really many others other than Sultai Ultimatum that I can think of off the top of my head. And if that's the case, it might just be too narrow. I mean, Approach to the Second Sun, yeah, sure. In Historic, I would like the approach to not resolve. That is a very fair point. But there's not a lot. Would this work on Adventures? No. No, it wouldn't. Because the copies in the deck will have a different name. You'll be countering Heart's Desire, and it will look through the deck for copies of Heart's Desire, and it won't find any. Because of the way it's templated, so no, it won't. Otherwise, that would be a huge deal. But as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't work. At least to my knowledge. But yeah, I think this is kind of the problem for me, is that outside of specifically the ultimatums, I can't find other cards that I really care about ripping the other copies out of the deck. And if that's the case, this is just too narrow. It's just too narrow if that's the case. But it's a nice safety valve. Having this in a format is definitely a case of, in case of emergency, break glass for stupid, ridiculous instant or sorcery that is oppressive. I don't think you have yet, right? No. Honestly, Crux, again, I think you're being too harsh on Standard, to be honest. I played a lot of Standard over the last few weeks, especially yesterday. And yes, Eldraine is still the most prevalent set in the format. No doubt about that. But Standard is actually getting to a solid spot. Coldheim did a lot of work, and the format is evolving every week. Maybe Extinction Event? Yeah, oh, Divide by Zero. We have gone past Divide by Zero, yes. I do apologise. Maybe Extinction Event? Maybe Sweepers? Maybe you care about Sweepers? But I think I just trust Negate a bit more in those scenarios. I don't know. I just don't think this is quite enough. It's just a bit too narrow. It's a nice card to exist, though. For sure.